Greetings and welcome. Let me move this a bit. Yeah, there you can see everything. So it says, so we're going to do Romans 12, verses 1 and 2 today. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So, yeah, it is completely reasonable for God to expect that you serve him. Jesus Christ died for your sins on the cross, so you have been bought with that price. So you've been bought. You know, you used to be Satan's child, and now you are God's child. And he bought you, and you're part of God's family. And so it's reasonable that he expects that you worship him, that you do something for him. Um, I mean, you've been given heaven, you've been given eternity, so there's really nothing you can do for God to repay Him for all that He's done for you. But you could try your best. So I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. So a living sacrifice. So it's not like a one-time sacrifice, and then that's it. No, it's a living sacrifice. So you continue to sacrifice as you live, and that is what's pleasing to God. That you sacrifice your time, your energy. That doesn't mean necessarily you're going to have to get persecuted or die for your faith. I mean, that's not something we have to go through in America, but there are Christians that have died in the past. Many have died for their faith. But right now, God doesn't expect that of us. Right? If God doesn't expect that of you, then that's not something you have to do. We've been given freedom, but yeah, you are a living sacrifice, and that is what's holy and acceptable to God, and that is it's reasonable for God to expect that. And now here in verse 2 it says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." So you cannot be conformed to this world. That is a common problem a lot of Christians, especially American Christians, face in today's world, that they try to conform themselves to this world. It doesn't work. A lot of churches try to conform themselves to the world. So what happens when the church tries to conform to the world? The church becomes like the world. And that is exactly what's happened. There are plenty of examples of that. But that's when paganism starts to enter the churches, and then then you start not being able to see the difference between Christians and non-Christians. That's the problem in our current society. You cannot really see the difference between a Christian and a non-Christian. The line's been blurred. That means something's wrong. There should be a very strong distinction between a non-Christian and a Christian. They should be able to see that you are different. And because the church has allowed paganism into their churches, that distinction has been lost. And by becoming the friend of the world, the church has lost its image in front of God. So God is very displeased with the current churches out there right now. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So your mind's supposed to change. After you get saved, your mind is supposed to change. You're not supposed to think the way you used to think. You're going to think differently. And God can do amazing transformations. You've probably heard many stories of guys in jail getting saved and how God's changed their life and all of that. And only God can do that. God can change people. He can renew your mind so you can think differently. And sometimes it doesn't even show outwardly. Outwardly maybe the changes aren't quite that strong because not everybody has this dark past. But inwardly, there should be a very strong change inwardly. You will feel the change inwardly. Your mind has been renewed, and that's acceptable to God. So anyway, Romans 12 is a great chapter. I'd recommend you read all of it. Very great practical advice. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you next time.